Yeah, the GOAT. Logo threes are back, y'all. Logo threes are back like they never left. Caitlin Clark doing it to him. Caitlin Clark is on fire.
What they're doing here is building a rich, compelling narrative. They're not just trying to sell a product off the shelf, and it's this very marketing approach that reveals something absolutely critical about how Nike's front office views Caitlin Clark's commercial potential. The comparison they're making isn't to other amazing WNBA players. The real comparison, the benchmark they're using, is against LeBron James, against Kevin Durant, against the absolute titans of the entire basketball world. You can feel that excitement, right? That's not manufactured hype. It's absolutely genuine. And that raw energy is about to be transformed into what top Nike executives are describing as their single biggest signature shoe launch for a brand new athlete since Kevin Durant's very first sneaker hit the shelves. Let that sink in for a moment. We are, of course, talking about the much anticipated Caitlin Clark signature shoe, which has been officially announced for a spring 2026 release. But here's the crucial part, the detail that changes everything. There is something fundamentally different about this launch, something that separates it from every single WNBA signature shoe that has ever come before it. Now, think about this. Nike didn't just cobble together some generic, flashy promotional video. No, they were far more strategic. They brought in Lisa Bluder, her celebrated college coach from To really grasp the scale of what's happening, you need the context that truly matters. Nike has been a major player in the women's basketball signature shoe business for years now. It's not new territory for them. They've had some fantastic successful launches with incredible athletes like Aja Wilson and Sabrina Ionescu. But if you look closely, those launches all followed a very predictable established pattern. You announce the shoe, you release it to the public within a fairly standard 6 to 8 month window, and you market it primarily to the already existing dedicated WNBA fan base. It's the standard, reliable playbook you use for what is considered a niche market product. But now, take a look at the timeline they've laid out for Caitlin Clark's shoe, because this is where the strategy becomes crystal clear. The announcement is happening right now, but the actual release date isn't until spring of 2026. That is not, by any stretch of the imagination, a standard product launch timeline. That, my friends, is what you call a cultural event timeline. That's the kind of extended runway you give a product. But here's the game changer. Nike isn't just planning to sell this new shoe in America. They are coordinating a massive simultaneous global launch. This means they are actively establishing complex distribution networks in Europe, in Asia, and in other markets all around the world where WNBA merchandise has never ever had a significant retail presence before. Let's be perfectly clear, that is not how you launch a product that you think will only appeal to a small niche audience. That is precisely how you launch a product when you are supremely confident that it possesses massive mainstream crossover potential. What Nike is doing here is placing a huge bet. They are betting that Caitlin Clark's signature shoe will sell not just to dedicated WNBA fans, but to the wider world of sneakerheads, to people who are simply chasing the... And believe me, there's a very specific dollars and cents reason why that extended timeline is so critical to Nike's bottom line. As it stands right now, if you're a passionate Caitlin Clark fan living anywhere anywhere in Europe, you literally cannot buy her merchandise without getting absolutely hammered by outrageous customs fees and import taxes. From a financial standpoint, it's just not worth the cost. So let's dive into the design philosophy for a moment, because this is where Nike's grand strategy gets really interesting. If you look at Sabrina Inissi's signature shoe, which was a huge success, Nike essentially created a women's version of the legendary Kobe 5. It was low profile, featured a light mesh construction, and was meticulously designed for speed and agility on the court. That shoe was a certified hit because it expertly filled a very specific performance need in the market. But here is the million-dollar question that Nike's top design team is undoubtedly wrestling with for Caitlin Clark's shoe. Do you design it purely for on-court performance, or do you design it for off-court lifestyle? You see, performance shoes are built primarily for athletes. Lifestyle shoes, on the other hand, are for everyone else. And based on every single clue we have, the incredibly long timeline, the ambitious global distribution strategy, and the narrative-driven marketing approach, it's almost certain that they are aiming squarely for the lifestyle market. They're trying to create a shoe that looks so good you'd wear it casually with jeans, but that can still perform at a high level on the basketball court if needed. That right there is the ultimate sweet spot, the holy grail where you maximize your sales potential. You know, there's a really specific and powerful comparison worth making here, and it goes back to the Mercurial Vapor football boots that Nike released back in the mid-2000s. And let me just say this as plainly as possible, if Nike manages to execute this monumental launch correctly, this single shoe has the potential to outsell every other WNBA signature shoe combined within its first year on the market. The scale of this ambition is just off the charts. So let's really break down what a move like this actually means for the WNBA and for the entire landscape of women's basketball more broadly. You have to understand, this isn't just a story about one incredibly talented player getting her own signature shoe. Those cleats weren't just exceptional pieces of performance gear, they exploded into a full-blown cultural phenomenon. If you wore a pair of Mercurial Vapors, you were signaling something. You were associating yourself with the electrifying energy of Cristiano Ronaldo and the absolute pinnacle of elite-level athleticism. And that right there is the exact playbook Nike is running with Caitlin Clark's signature shoe. They're not just selling basketball. This is about Nike, one of the biggest cultural forces on the planet, making a definitive statement about who they believe has the power to drive mainstream sneaker culture forward. We're hearing that Caitlin Clark's Nike deal is reportedly worth 8 figures over an 8-year span. That's not just big money, that's the kind of NBA level money that gets everyone's attention, and you can be sure that Nike does not make those kinds of massive financial bets lightly. The cultural implications of this deal are just as significant, if not more so. For so many years, the prevailing narrative surrounding WNBA endorsements has been a frustrating conversation about the pay gap and a lack of investment. What Caitlin Clark is doing is single-handedly forcing major corporations to completely recalculate that entire equation. Her games consistently drew millions upon millions of viewers, and in the world of business, those television ratings translate directly into tangible, undeniable leverage. It's easy to fall back on the old saying that a rising tide lifts all boats, but the hard reality is that the benefits are almost never distributed equally. In this scenario, Caitlin Clark is getting a massive 8-figure deal and a precedent-setting global marketing campaign behind her. The vast majority of WNBA players, many of whom are incredibly talented, are simply not getting that same level of support. That stark gap in investment and exposure truly matters. This move also establishes a powerful and potentially game-changing precedent for all the future WNBA players who will come after her. If this shoe becomes the blockbuster success that Nike is betting on, it will serve as irrefutable proof that women's basketball possesses enormous, untapped mainstream commercial viability. But and this is important, there's a very uncomfortable truth that comes along with this. Companies don't invest their millions based purely on talent alone. They invest based on a complex calculation of marketability, and that reality inevitably creates a certain level of tension within the. You have to realize Nike isn't just betting on Caitlin Clark's incredible current popularity. That would be too short-sighted. No, their real bet is on her sustained relevance for years to come. The history of signature shoes is clear. They only truly succeed when the athlete remains excellent and stays culturally relevant year after year after year. The question now is, can Caitlin Clark maintain that almost superhuman level of performance and interest? If she does, this launch could go down in history as the exact moment that women's basketball finally and truly broke through into the mainstream of global sneaker. So, when spring 2026 finally arrives, I want you to pay very close attention. Don't just look at the shoe itself. Watch how Nike markets it, see where it's being sold across the globe, and pay attention to how much inventory they produce for that initial launch. Those crucial business decisions will be the real clues. They will tell you everything you need to know about whether Nike truly believes this is a mainstream blockbuster, or if, behind the scenes, they're hedging their bets. Ultimately, the success or failure of this one launch will determine whether Caitlin Clark is a spectacular outlier or the revolutionary beginning